Hey everyone, Tordug here. One of my first videos, I guess, for my new YouTube channel, paired along with my Twitch. Thought I'd give a horse-ridden tour of my farm on Farming Simulator 22. Explain some of the stuff I do on here, some of why I do it, some of the options you can do, and just how much fun I've had playing this game in the last year or so. My first Farming Simulator game. Never played any of the previous ones. Apparently this one has a lot more to offer, like production lines and things like that the other ones did not have. They were primarily just crops and sales, that kind of deal. Heading over to my cotton field for a quick look. It pretty much powers my clothing industry, which I have I'd say, moderate clothing industry. My first mega field, I plowed together quite a few fields here. Turned them into the cotton. It's a little bit labor intensive, especially the harvesting, but I actually automate that. That's one part of this game I really found amusing. I know a lot of people really kind of, what I consider abusing it, where they just do everything automated and kind of just do other things or play other games while the game runs itself, which up to a point you really can do that. I prefer to actually play as much as possible or be present, but I do, for big harvest months especially, hire hands to help me with it because I play alone, so it's a lot. Take a quick stop here. You can see it's a very large field. You know, most of the map is now mine, and most of these come up in a few short months of time. So trying to do everything in daylight by yourself can be challenging, even with the speed slowed down. I usually play on 1 time, so it's more realistic, but I have slowed it down or sped it up. Like I said, the amount of options and things you can do in this game is pretty fantastic, even for a simulator. You can see there's sort of cut lines along the side grass here instead of expanding the field right to the very edges, which sometimes causes problems with the automation if you try and get bots to help you. I leave the grass and I use it as feed for cows and sheep and other things because it's pretty much growing free, and it's I think it's about as good as a field of grass. The first time is not. After you've cut it once, it grows back, I think, at like 100% yield or 98% yield, which is the top. So you can pretty much use your fields for crops and everything else, and you can have a massive grass crop on the side if you want, for silage, for hay, grass feed, etc. for different animals. Like I said, sheep eat grass, cows eat hay and silage, which are both made from grass. So it's beneficial sometimes to leave it. You can also just turn fields into grass fields if you like, and then you can have bots help you with that as well. The problem with them at the moment is they will only work within a field. They don't work outside the field. So what I do on the edges and things has to all be done manually. But this is a few months away from harvest. It'll turn a little bit into like mini bushes, and then little white tufts of cotton will grow onto them. It's pretty nice. They then go over to my clothing industry, which is all here. It kind of is a weird spot to have it, but at the time when I developed it, you know, I had sheep all over here, and that's how I originally started, with sheep, and I slowly worked up from selling wool to making cloth and then clothes, while I was also doing a big grass harvest. They were eating some of the grass, but most of the grass that I was cutting was being made into silage, and I sold that once a year for a big amount. I think it was like just over $500,000, I think, every year, as well as whatever I was getting with the clothes, which ended up being decent. It pretty much funded those two things, funded everything else. Oh yeah, so if you drive your horse a little too close to a fence, it'll balk and stop. It's kind of annoying. But here's my one sheep barn. They take turns running around, eating, having sleep, you know, lying down, chewing their cud. They're pretty well animated. They look pretty cool. Very noisy. They produce a couple of 1,000 liters of wool every month, which I just use to balance out these buildings, which are the cloth buildings. Mostly they're filled with cotton, but you can also put wool in them. So if, depending how good or bad the cotton goes every year, sometimes there's a bit of variance, I can fill in with a little bit of wool. Plus I like having the sheep around. They remind me of my childhood, sort of. They remind me of goats in my childhood. Anyways. Then they go from the cloth buildings into the clothing buildings right here, all automatically. You can do it manually if you'd like to shuffle pallets around, but I decided over time, for various reasons, to let it go auto. You lose a little bit of profit, but you save yourself a lot of time, and you don't have a bunch of pallets that are somewhat buggy still, flipping around and knocking over your tractor and stuff. My solar array is 9 solar panels. They're just under 100,000 a piece, and they generated about between 7 and 9, I would say, $1,000. Actually, probably less than that a year. What it says in the store is different in the builder menu. It says pretty much you'll get 10% back every year, and they'll be paid off in 10 years, and that's not the case. They vary just like everything else, and you very rarely get anywhere near the 10% that you're supposed to. Same thing with the lawn. I don't know if I can look up. There we go. The wind turbines. You'll see I have these all over the place. There's a deer kind of going across. My greenhouses, which do primarily strawberries, a little bit of tomatoes and lettuce as well. The strawberries, along with other things, go into my bakeries, which I have quite a few of. They make strawberry shortcakes and bread using, wheat, which goes into the far corner over there is a flour mill. See if I can get this horse to behave. Here we go. He's already dirty from riding. This is a big sugar beet factory, which takes several crops. Cane and beets turns into sugar for your cakes and your chocolate. The grain mill makes the flour for cakes, flour, or bread. Cakes and bread, I believe, is all you can make at the moment. I'm hoping they extend some of this or expand some of these things in different ways. I've got creameries, as I call them, which are milk factories. You dump in milk from your cows. You add sugar and you can get chocolate, or just with milk itself you make butter and cheese. I've got 6 of each, I think, bakeries and creameries, pumping in money all the time. I've got some cow barns, I think 4 of them total, which are a bit of a handful, but you can buy an upgrade to the large barn that will allow a robot feeder, which is, I recommend. I can't recommend it enough. So you don't have to mix your own total mixed ration. You just put in a few of the ingredients, 4 of the ingredients, and the robot mixes it for you and feeds them. Slurry tankers here for the waste from these 2 cow barns are sharing that slurry tank and this manure. I've also got pigs up in here, which again eat a lot of your crop. They eat a varied diet. They need 4 different types: roots, grains, proteins, and I can't remember. It's easily remedied. Grains, proteins, root crops, and base food, yeah, which is like a grain-based or a corn-based diet, I believe. Again, they just contribute to waste. I've got several manure piles here, another slurry tank there and over there, and another manure pile, I think, in the back, just to make sure I catch it all, because what you do is you add plain straw to all the barns every month. They poop on it, and then it gets shoveled out by invisible goblins in the evening, and into these here things. You can then use them to fertilize your fields, or just sell it to power factories, which can turn it into biofuels and things like that, electricity even. My big ass slurry tanker with my tanker. It's a tanker with a tanker. Fantastic. It's where I spread the liquid waste all over the fields. I do about half of my fertilizing with natural ingredients. That's how much these cows and pigs make. I got some sorghum fields here, which is one of the bases I use for pigs. It's just a grain that grows. It's really beautiful when right before you harvest it, which I think is next month or so. It's a nice, beautiful yellow flower on top. There's 3 things that you feed the cows. Hay, which is the green stuff, straw, which is the golden stuff, and silage, which is the wrapped bales. I decided to go for a bale kind of organization as opposed to the bunkers that people use. Just a personal preference. They're both about equal, I'd say, if you have, as long as you're on a PC, I should mention. There are limits to vehicles and trailers and stuff on consoles, but the PC has no limits on these yet. Not saying they won't ever add them, but I don't think they should with the beastly computers that we have these days. So we got my silage there. I got my hay there. My straw there, my hay. I've got to refill some of those. It is harvest time now. It's just starting, so I'll be able to add some more to both this year. A little quick ride through here. Where the robot comes and lays this bead of food down this here, and they come over, the cows come over and stick their heads through and eat it. And then you spray the straw in there with a straw sprayer, which is right over here. You just fill it with bales, and it chews up the bales and shoots it out a chute you can see in the front of this trailer here. Milk tanker in the back there, making, I think it's about 12,000 liters of milk per barn, which does all the 6 creameries, making 3 items each, a full tilt all year round. And I'm selling milk on top of that now, so it's pretty crazy. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of work, though. They do eat a lot, as cows do. So do the pigs. Chickens as well you can have. I got 1 DLC installed, one of the free DLCs that they offered off their site, which was their silo and conveyor package, I think it was called. I can't remember the exact name of it, but this is a really nice set of legit silos. I don't really want to say legit. Mods are legit, but some people really abuse how they work, so, you know. And here's the mother of all bins, the mother bin. When I'm out doing massive fields that don't have self-baling like the cotton, thankfully, I set the robots out with their harvesters, and the harvesters actually will bale and eject bales when they're full and keep going, so they pretty much can do the whole harvest. Things like my wheat down here, 71 and 70s, or the sorghum, etc. There's so much of it when I do it that I often will bring the bin out, and I have that massive 8-wheel tractor just for that bin because it's so massive, and even that thing struggles a little bit. Otherwise, I use pretty much primarily Fendt large tractors for their speed and power. They're a really great all-around tractor. My grass... Whoa! Just about got run over by a car. My grass and hay section, at the moment, I don't really have a good place to set it all up, but I have a couple of fields here where I do grass and hay just for the cows and the sheep. Besides the free stuff on the sides, they take more than that often because there's 4 barns of cows now, which is a fair amount. So, because these are fields, I can actually get the robots or bots to do most of it. They do a fairly good job of grass. You will have to do around the edges and clean it up a little bit when they're done, but for the majority of it, it'll save you a lot of time. And while they're doing that, I'll be off doing, you know, harvesting another crop or planting something or doing something that's more technical, whatever. I don't know how you want to put it, but I try not to use them unless I'm really kind of crunched for time for doing the whole thing myself. Oh yeah, I'll go over to the... most of my tractors are stored here. I've got a few mediums, 3 mediums right here. I got other mediums around. You'll see them just around. And then there's my 2 big boy Fendts. I love them. I like the way they look. They have massive power. I just throw on some weights on the front, which aren't really needed, honestly. I just do it for a little bit of extra when they're pulling a big bin like such. If it's full, sometimes it's helpful for traction and stuff, but really the weights are kind of a waste on this tractor. You just get weighted wide tires in the back, and this thing will pull almost everything in the game. The horn leaves something to be desired, but that's another topic of conversation. Sorry, Smoke's just sitting there waiting for me. I've got all my tools, a bunch of harvesters, cultivators, rollers. There's the specialized grass cutting contraption here, where it's really what it does. It turns very well, it has good speed, and it does a decent width. Got seeders and planters, my spreader for my lime, etc., and then more grass rollers, which I like to roll my grass. I know a lot of people spray it. I like to roll it. It does give you 3% more yield, I believe, which I don't know how many people care, 95 versus 98, but I just take whatever I can get, and I mostly automate the grass, like I said. Now, I used to do it so much. That's my real justification. I did it a lot as I made my starting money off that for the first probably 10 or 15 years of this map. Just, it's a great way to start a map. Even if you don't have that many fields, you can go around and cut grass outside of fields and stuff that you own, possibly near your neighbors. I can't remember if that worked or not. I haven't done it in some time. Bale it up, turn it into silage, and you get a decent amount of money for that once a year or so. There's my sugar beets over there. There's more sorghum over here. We're heading over to my olives. I'll do a quick recap of olives and grapes. They pretty much fall in the same category. Very different things, but very similar. They don't quite use the exact same. They use some mini tractors and things that they will share with each other. I went right past it, I think. Yeah. Oh. Stop sign. My bad. Oh no, I know where I am now. Never mind. I'm not there yet. They have very specialized tools, as several crops do. They are very, very time consuming. The most time consuming thing you'll do, unless you do it in a very small scale, but you need to do it on a fairly large scale for it to be useful for anything. So these are my olive trees, I guess. And the big thing of it is you have to go down, up and down both sides of every row for most of the actions you have to do, which makes this quite tedious, and you're overdoing. You're going over the same land a lot of times just to hit the other side of a tree or a bush or whatever, or a vine in the grapes case. But they go into my oil factory, which I purchased on the map. Most of my factories and things I built myself in my own areas, but I've started buying some of them on the map, which is probably the better way to start, because you don't have to find land for them. Some of them are in kind of inconvenient locations, but it's has its bonuses. Mostly it will be like a slightly larger capacity to ones you can buy yourself. Now here's a grape harvester. As you can see, it's a very weird harvester. You put the trees pretty much go straight in there, and this thing vibrates and rubs them and knocks all the olives off, which get picked up in the bottom into these little cups and around and get put in the sides, and then you dump it into a trailer. The common things you get between grapes and olives are this little tractor, the sprayer, which just sprays like a big fan in a circular, so it kind of hits both sides. Some of these things are made nice. The cultivator is also the same. It's like a mini subsoiler, really. It's hasn't worked very well on these particular plants, so that's this, sorry. And this is a mulcher, which is supposed to cut the grass and stuff, but I've had a hell of a time with it working properly on the olives. So I don't know if it needs a full year to set up properly sometimes or what, but on the grapes you can mulch. You don't have to, but you can. It seems the mulching is pretty much a step that isn't needed, but is in the list of steps. Here's another fuel pump. It's like little fuel things and washers that you can put. I think I stowed a washer in the bushes here. Yeah. Pressure washer. So you can wash your tractors and things out in the field instead of having to drive them back to a central location. You just have to fill up the gas tanks once in a while. Then it just sits there and, you know, use it whenever. Head over through the tracks into my other fields here. Like I said, most of the southern map, damn it, is mine now. I am trying to slowly gather up the whole map and make it all worked. We got, I think this is my beans. Soybean, which is part of the protein. It's one of 2 proteins, I believe, you can use for pigs. This is my canola, which will go in the oil factory with the olive oil. I believe they both just output oil no matter what, but you can put in sunflower seeds for oil, canola, or olive oil, and they all have their separate category. I'm not sure if they output separate oils, though. I don't think so. And this year, for the first time, I'm trying sugar cane, which is right here. Again, another specialized harvester, specialized planter. It's really the gimmick with most of these crops is saving up the money. There's the harvester and the trailers I got for it. They're not exactly sanctioned trailers, but the other ones that were actually for this kept getting caught. I did a couple like just loop-de-loops and things with it to see how it would work. So this one seems to work best. And then I can drop one off and then pick up the second one and then continue, etc. This is another of my medium tractors. The planter for sugar cane is also, it's a double planter that I got here, but it's, you just put little bits of your sugar cane in there, and I believe you can actually put your own in there after you harvest it to fill the seeder for next time. Some plants will grow year over year the same plant where you don't have to reseed it, like olives, grapes, etc. Grass, once you seed the field, it just keeps growing. It's more sugar beets on, or sugar cane on this side. The canola looks very nice. Similar but not the same as the sorghum. The graphics and the detail on a lot of things are good in this game. They could be better in some spots. But overall, you know, it's not bad. I mean, it's not a high-tech shooter. There's another repair garage and a washer and a fuel tank over here for the sugar beet area. Or sugar cane. I don't know why I keep calling it beets. I do have 2 fields of beets and sugar beets and just those 2 little fields of cane. We'll see what I get out of it. Beans again. Pig protein. I had canola or barley, I think, on the other side of this, which has been harvested for this season. Leaving the straw, you can have a straw swath or not. If you do, you can bale it for the straw for your cows and for putting in for bedding for pigs, cows, and horses, as well as the pigs or the cows actually eat it, which is crazy because straw is like, it's straw. I believe this is some more sorghum here. You can see my windmills all over the place. Like I said, they're very expensive. These ones compared to like the solar panels I think you buy for just under 100,000. These are like 750,000 I think, but you get more like, you know, 30-40,000 a month from each one. So as you make money diversifying around, so it gives you a bit of a cushion. If you decide to change things up, you'll still have income coming from your land, from power generation or other things. Is my thought anyways. We got wheat here, I believe, which is almost ready to go, I think, next month as well. It'll turn brown and be ready to go. And I've got another, I'm just heading over to my grapes. I've got oats there. This is wheat. Sorghum is the dark brown. The barley is already gone. The beans are here. This is the canola. Olives. Corn I have as well, and that's the cotton in the white. And the sugar cane is the light green. to be careful on the roads, because the cars will notice and try and stop for tractors and things, but they do not have the same care for horses. They will run you down. It just seems more like a little buggy blip, pushes you up in the air or off to the side briefly. But here's my grapes. You have to lay down, both with the olives and the grapes, you have to lay down these lines painstakingly, one at a time yourself. It's very expensive to plant them and very annoying to take them back out, as well as quite a lot of work to run them in the first place. But grapes are another additive with the corn, oats, and honey, which there are beehives around too. I can find one. I forget where I put them. They're around. Those 4 items go into a cereal factory, and out comes assorted brands of cereals and things. Like the production lines that they have in this game just are amazing. I really, really love it. I can't stress it enough. It's my grape factory. Put the grapes in here, turns them into raisins, and then it goes automatically over to the cereal factory. But just like the olives, here's the grape picker. You can see it's pretty much fits right over the stakes in the ground. Does the same thing, shakes the grapes off, conveyors them up into a thing, and then you dump them either in your trailer to sell or into the factory. There's another gas tank and washer over here for keeping this stuff clean. There's my wheat over here, another big field. I have several what I would call large fields where I brought small fields together, and then there's the one mega field. This is oats. Looks a bit different. Lots more things. You can see the pine tree line there. I did plant it doubly as thick as that. I've thinned it out, and I had a little forest over here. We're going to head over now for the final piece. Well, the final show of what's growing anyways, which is my logging industry or furniture industry or whatever you want to, however you want to take it. You can take it to whatever level you want. You can just cut down the trees and sell them. You can cut them down and make planks and sell those, or you can cut down and put them in the sawmill, get planks, and make furniture from it and sell that, which for the most part, I would say about 99%. I can't think off the top of my head what isn't. But the further down the production line you go, the more money you can make from most things. I'm going to take a little shortcut and get off the road. Whoops. I'll first take a quick little show of my harvester, which is it's a big boy John Deere. It's got a fold-up corn harvester, corn and sunflower harvester, which you can put on the front, and because it's folded, you don't need a trailer. It just comes along, you unfold it when you get there. It's lovely. I really wish they could find a way of doing that for this one, because this is a pain in the ass, but it's the big grain harvester. You just trailer it around and hook it up when you're there, and it's a pretty nice harvester. Really like it a lot. And these are the cotton harvesters. I just recently bought a second one. So one's a little newer than the other, I think. Pretty much very small harvest rate, width. Goes in here. It kind of scrapes all the cotton off and gets sucked up in a vacuum kind of way into the back. And then there's a compressor that squeezes it down into a huge, giant, square rectangle bale, which is like 4 tons, I think. And I think it's 20,000 liters of cotton in each one. So I get about 100, I think it's like 160 to 180,000 liters of cotton off of that field. And that goes into a bunch of different cloth factories and into clothing factories from there, and then turn it into cash. Take a quick shortcut over here. My trees are up here. I'll take a little side trek, I think, down the highway a little bit to the cornfields. Wanted to do it in this month of June. I was originally going to, well, I wanted to have as many plants kind of in the field and near maturity as possible. I'll mention right now, like, I'm open to the idea, as this is my first kind of YouTube video I'm making. I'm just doing it live. That's probably how I'll do most of them. I'll do maybe a bit of setup, and then I'll just do videos or whatever for if people request different things, or how do you do this or how do you do that on different games I'm playing, I'll try my best to fulfill all the requests. So a lot of little tiny farms kind of in the middle there. I don't own those yet. But time eventually will allow me. I'm at $8 million right now. I've been spending a fair amount the last few months, but I make, I would say, $500,000 almost a month now. It's a slow start, you know, it takes time. There are ways of getting around that. I don't really agree with them. I think they're kind of game breaking, but that's, you know, I'm also, free for anyone to play how they want. I'm not a big meta fan. I like to work against the meta most of the time and play how I like and make it work. Here's my corn. You can see it's very nearly ready to go. A couple more months, I think it'll get taller, thicker, and then the ears will pop out as ears. And then it'll turn brown and you harvest it. Big ass cornfield, mostly for cereal. You can feed it to pigs as one of the categories as well. I believe the base category, which I use the sorghum for mostly. Sorghum is also for flour. I really don't sell a lot of the grains and stuff. I may have to at some point if I start getting ahead, but it's mostly pretty close to how much I'm using for different things. I try to expand the industry as big as I can support with the fields, so I'm not running around selling a bunch of stuff, but I'm turning it into products first. This is the animal livestock area where you pick up all your animals when you buy them. When you start, or where you sell silage, for instance, or other things that animals eat, I believe. Doesn't like... Every time I hit these hills, it comes to a dead stop. He doesn't like it. Heading over to the sawmill, which is you cannot buy one of your own to put anywhere on your land. You have to buy the one on the map, as far as I know. But you pretty much dump your logs and stuff in the dump off area there. You can control it from the exclamation point, and the stuff comes out in front of the wrench there if you're doing pallets, but I auto do it. Again, it's... Since they messed around with restrictions, they've since loosened them, but they were very tight and you couldn't have very many pallets on the map. So I converted everything to pretty much automated transfer. Either distribution within your own areas, it puts things where they need to go, and then the final products are auto-sold now. Here's another gas tank, another thing, another garage, and a sprayer for my lumber equipment, which is also specialized. You can just use a chainsaw if you like, and do everything by hand, but there's for straight trees, which are, I believe, pines and spruce, regular pines and spruce, you can use a big-ass tree trailer or tree crane there, the right side one. This comes out and goes pretty much to the base of the tree. It comes down, you can see there's like a little saw in there, the little blue piece there. It comes out and it saws through, and then it'll use its teeth and roll it along to a preset. Like right now it's cut 6 meters, but you can change that to up to 8, I think, and down to 1. And then it will keep doing that until it runs out of tree, and it'll strip off all the small branches and things that are normally done by hand. And then you have a crane here that, I guess I'll hop up there too and show you that. The crane grab the logs and put them in. They recently did a DLC for the wood industry. I haven't looked at it too much. Here's the tree planter. You just stick your boxes of saplings on top of the tractor, and it puts them in at certain increments. The forest that I grew too big. It was fairly quick, fairly soon after I was starting, and I decided just to go nuts. So I've already cut some trees away. You can hardly tell. Like 10, 15 of them, I think. There are like wildlife running through here and stuff like that. It's probably not a good idea for me to take this horse in here because it'll get stuck if it gets too close to trees. However, I don't have to plant any trees for a while, even though I still do probably have like 100 trees sitting over there to be planted, saplings. cut them down, and you load them up, bring them over to the sawmill if you like, or you can dump the trees straight into the furniture factories. This is my 8 furniture factories. One's pretty much an overflow. Again, I always have like an extra one that I turn on and off throughout the year to try and regulate, keep everything else happy and full. But if I look, where is it? There it is. You can put regular wood, which is just straight from the trees, or you can put planks from the sawmill. Sawmill planks definitely are more efficient. And they all give you wood chips. Yeah, there's the difference. 216 wood for, well, pretty much 4 trees for 5, and then it's 5 planks for 7. It's a little more sawdust with the wood, a little less with the planks, which is just like a byproduct that I auto sell as well. You can see you can set it to selling. You can change the output mode to distributing, storing, or selling. Storing will make pallets of it. That'll come out in these little areas. Distributing will take it to anywhere that can use wood chips on any land that you own, any factory or anywhere that uses wood chips for anything. It'll send it to there. And selling obviously just auto sells it for whatever. The auto selling is a nice feature. However, I'll warn you do lose some of your profit as opposed to saving it and selling it once a year. It's more realistic to sell all the time for most things, but some things not so much. The problem is, like I said, they do have various limits on pallets. So trying to store things and sell them on demand for a bigger profit, you can do on a smaller scale, but once you get to a large scale, you pretty much have to switch to just selling them all year round. But I put in, a couple, well, more than a couple, tens of thousands of wood from trees every couple of months into the sawmill, and that will run those 8 furniture stores for that same time frame. It's pretty nice. Trying to watch the cars don't run me over. And that's pretty much it. Whoa. Bumping ground. That was kind of funny. The sheer amount of things you can do in this game, comparatively to what I've heard the other games had, which pretty much just crops and sell. Which is fine too. It's a good way to get started if you like. You can afford land. Now there's also the productions and the few animals, which also kind of go into production lines in different ways. For instance, the cows make milk. You can sell cows for meat as well. There's like beef cows and milk cows. The milking cows, I think, seem to be better because the milk can then be turned into 3 other products at the creameries and sell all those. Pigs, pretty much you sell them for meat all the time. That's all they're good for. They have a very high rate of speed of turnaround, so they're actually fairly good at making you some cash just by growing them and selling them for bacon. And who doesn't like bacon? Oh yeah, showed the slurry spreader, I believe. The manure spreader I park kind of in between these two, but it's the same kind of principle. You come over, you fill them up, it sprays it out the back. It's a good way of doing your fields. A lot of people prefer to just sell it for power or other things, either on your own land or through the one on the map. There's a big power generating station that will take bio waste and stuff like that, silage, manure, and slurry and things, and turn it into power and other products if you buy it, I believe. Otherwise, it's just a sell point if you don't buy it. The ones that you can buy for your own land, you can make the products as well, and it will generate some power like the other things do. This is my sugar beet, another specialized tractor. I'll pull it out and then unfold it. It shows, how big and specialized some of these things are. So it's a very narrow harvest. Width, but it's better than trying to do it yourself. It's probably the fastest way you're going to do it, because of the other option is attachments for regular tractors, which means you have to cut the tops off in one pass, and then you have to kind of use it like a plow and roll them out with a second pass. And if you have a collector attached to that, you can collect them. Otherwise, you have to do a third pass to collect the sugar beets. Same thing for potatoes. It has a slightly different harvester for potatoes, but it's the same principle. It's either that or you have to cut off the tops first and then plow them out and then pick them up, and then you can do whatever you're going to do. Like sugar beets, or sugar cane, I should say, potatoes are another one that you harvest, and you can use them in your potato seeder, since it's a specialized thing. You dump some of your crop into there for next year's planting. So that's a nice bonus, because seeds cost money. There are DLCs, I believe, that they've added recently that you can actually turn crops in silos into seeds for your next season, or you know how that works. I have no idea. I haven't investigated any of that. There's my feeder trough for my sheep. Oh, I didn't show the chickens yet either. I can just pop over there. Oops. But you pretty much, this is a forage trailer, so it picks up grass. So I cut lines of grass along the sides usually, or wherever, and that's where this comes in. It picks it up, fills it up, and then dumps just for the little sheep, which are cool. I have, I think, all the different types. The white ones with black faces, the pure white ones, the pure black ones, and the brown ones with black faces. All different types that you can get here. They really don't seem to be any different besides just visually. Same thing with the horses and the cows. There's several different milking cows and several different beef cows. But it seems like they all just do the same thing that they're supposed to do. Okay, bud, let's brush off all your dirt. There we go. You can see the stats when you look at them, the cleanliness and the riding, the fitness level, etc. Now these are new because I bought them specifically to use a horse for this tour of my farm. They don't make much money, unfortunately. They're great for a hobby and a nice way to ride around, and instead of, you know, in vehicles, you can ride around on a horse, feel a little more like a cowboy if that's your thing. Again, they all have their own little personalities. They run at each other, they eat, they sleep. If you get something creepy, a side note, if you want to creep yourself out a little bit, go visit your barns in the very early morning just before dawn. It looks like they're all dead. It's quite creepy. Like they're all just on their sides, sprawled out on the ground. You can barely see them breathing to know that they're alive. But that's it. Take a quick look at my chickens, because that's another animal. They give you eggs, which then you either can sell for decent. They actually sell quite well. I use most of mine for my bakeries. I've got 349 chickens and 359. And one rooster. Here he is. Got to keep them all in line. He's the one who makes them go inside when it rains so they don't look up and drown, is what I heard. That was a real life anecdote I heard from somewhere. Anyways, that's about it. All I can say is it's a pretty fun game if you like these types of simulators and things. There's lots of depth. If anyone really wants me to go into depth with anything else any further, put some comments below. And I can do that. Put up some more videos and things. We'll see how it goes. I don't know how quickly I'll be putting videos out. I don't know if I'll get into the high production values of videos or if it'll just be on the fly like today. But either way, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.